Mr. Bbanga. He's the managing director for Public Image Africa, and what they do is they actually train us on our personal brands and how to stand out, how to look, to actually have that great outlook. As Steve was asking, do you think the way I'm dressed today is going to cost me my job? And you said yes.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, allow us to introduce on stage Mr. Bbanga. Let's clap for him as he comes to stage. Just from the way he is dressed, just from the way he walks, just from the way he is going to grab that mic, you can see that indeed he is developed for this. So yes, let's listen. Welcome, Derek.
Where are you? I want to say thank you. Okay, thank you. Strongly believe, ladies and gentlemen, that soft skills have become the most important criteria for success in any organization. It doesn't matter where your talent lies. It doesn't matter what your academic background is. It doesn't matter how motivated you are. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe that soft skills are the defining character in a sea full of graduates. All of you at some point in the near future are going to hand over your CVs. You're going to be applying for these jobs with some of these wonderful companies that are here. The differentiating factor is not going to be in your grades. The differentiating factor is not going to be at the university you attended. The differentiating factor, yes, ladies and gentlemen, is going to boil down to not just your handshake, but your image and your personal brand. And so I'm here today, ladies and gentlemen, to share with you just a few tips that will give you the edge in this hyper-competitive world that we live in. This hyper-competitive world that we live in. Ladies and gentlemen, I firmly believe that first impressions are made in a matter of seconds. In fact, that's not what I believe. This is scientific proof. This is something that even goes back to when we were created. Now, whether we believe in the theory of creation or that we were running along the plains of Ukambani millions of years ago, I don't mean any disrespect, but I believe that in the vestiges, somewhere in the back of our mind, we automatically judge people subconsciously or consciously. Whether we like it or not, we're already making instant judgments based on a matter of seconds. There's some experts in this field who even talk about 3-second splicing. Malcolm Gladwell, one of my favorite authors, says in 3 seconds we've already determined whether somebody's successful, how successful they're going to be, how much money they make, what school they went to. All of these things are being done in an instant. Ladies and gentlemen, what is that first impression that you make? I also love to quote another eminent scientist called Albert Mehrabian. Albert Mehrabian talked about communication skills, and he broke it down into 3 very simple categories. He said one category is a combination of body language and dress. Yes, the clothes that you're wearing. He said there is another category called your voice. And he talked about a 3rd category, which are the words that come out of your mouth or what you say. And Albert Mehrabian said that the most important category, in fact he gave it an overwhelming 55%, is based on your body language, your handshake, and the clothes that you are wearing. Ladies and gentlemen, can you please look at your neighbor and just look at their shoes, because that's dress. What are those shoes saying? Imekanyaga kwa matatu, vumbi ndio hii, or by the way, BAT, can you hire me right away? Where am I going? Okay, I think I'll come back here. So ladies and gentlemen, I only have a short time. I want to talk about some really important things. What image do you want to make? What do you want people to think when they meet you for the first time in those 10 seconds? It may be a potential employer. It may be somebody who's potentially going to be your future husband or your wife. What impression do you give? You know, here's another thing I'd love you to do. I'd love you to turn over to your neighbor and ask them, what did you think of me the first time you met me? I'm curious to find out just what you thought of that neighbor of yours. Did you think they had lost their way and they'd come here? Do they look like they belong here? Do they look like a potential leader in this country? What is going on? Ladies and gentlemen, how many people in this room are in the business of sales? If you are in sales, please raise your hand up. If you are in sales, you know I'm going. What I'd like is for every single person in this room to put their hands up in the air like this. Please raise your hands. You know I'm going Evie. Wave it around like you just don't care. We're not at a TNA rally, but keep waving, keep waving. I'm going to ask this question. How many people are in the business of sales in this room? Thank you very much. This is the correct answer. You're all correct. You're all in the business of sales. And what are you selling, ladies and gentlemen? I think the answer should be apparent by now. You're in the business of selling what? You're in the business of selling what? Yourself. You are the product. You are the message. You are the billboard. You are the CEO of a company called Me Inc. You are selling yourself. You're like a product, like any of these products or services that are out here. And ladies and gentlemen, products and services at some point can go wrong or go bad. Please again, look at your neighbor and see if they're expired as a product. Like you used to say, if you are that product, ladies and gentlemen, if somebody was referring you to a company, to a job, to a potential husband, spouse, what would you want them to say about you in those first 10 seconds? Those first 10 seconds. Yes, I am talking about a first impression. And yes, I may be talking about some things that are superficial. But as I have said, we cannot control what we think. To some extent we can, but we are making instant judgments about other people. What are the 5 things you would like people to say about you if they were referring you? This is actually the crux of personal branding. Now my talk is going to be a little bit more about image and not delve too much into personal branding. But take a look at that image that I have up there on the screen, ladies and gentlemen. If you were describing yourself, or somebody was describing you, what would you want them to say you are? Do you come across as professional, relevant, knowledgeable, efficient? All those things can be done in the first 10 seconds. Now, there's good news and bad news. I'll start with the good news. The good news is that you can start creating a map, a roadmap, if you will, to lead people to the conclusion that you're extraordinary, successful, efficient, knowledgeable, professional. And it's pretty simple, actually. You can start sitting like a professional. You can start walking like a professional. You can start communicating like a professional. You can start shaking hands like a professional. You can start smiling, eye contact. The simple things, ladies and gentlemen, are the differentiating factor. What do you want people to think about you when they meet you for the first time? Start creating this roadmap. Lead people to the conclusion that you are the only option of doing business with. Ladies and gentlemen, the people who stand out in this world are those who are seen, heard, and remembered for the right reasons. Don't be scared to be the best dressed man in the room. Don't be scared to be the most well-spoken person. Don't be scared to have the best email. And I'm talking to a room full of young people. I was young once, believe it or not. I know what it's like to feel that, everything is a shortcut. Start leading people to the conclusion that you're a professional. That is the key to success in this hyper-competitive world. Let me move on. So we're talking about making an immediate impact. And I want to actually do a little bit of some actual sort of role-play scenarios where you can actually make that impact. And again, that is not rocket science by any means. But guess what? There's so many people who take these things for granted. And this is you achieved in college. That interview, and trust me, Miriam is going to come up here and talk about CVs and interviews through the course of today. She will tell you that decision is made very quickly. That interview will last 45 minutes. People have already made up their mind whether they're going to hire you in the first minute or so.